Nikkita. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. My name's Cynthia. Thanks so much for coming here today and for answering our questions. I run a social media project called Vanishing Seattle. And my question is about gentrification and displacement, which obviously I don't have to expound upon because you're well aware. But as you know, our communities have faced unprecedented rates of gentrification and displacement, not only of our residents, but of the small businesses, institutions that support our social fabric and our cultures. And the development that we've been seeing for the most part is producing not only housing but goods and services that are out of the reach of and in a lot of cases contributing to the displacement of working in middle-class families, low-income folks, seniors, artists and creatives, immigrants, refugees, people of color, anyone who's not pulling down a six-figure salary, basically. So my question for you is, as mayor, what else would you do to support efforts that are holistic and community-driven, that support cultural preservation in order to keep the communities and prioritize the communities that have been most impacted by gentrification and displacement, keep them here to survive and thrive in place?
Thank you for the question. So one thing I will say, check, I'm going to keep messing this up. One thing I will say is Yesler Terrace. So one thing I will say is selling off Yesler Terrace was one of the worst decisions we could have made in this city. It is a cultural site. It was one of the first places in the United States where that was mixed race in terms of who could live there. It also was 100% affordable housing. And it served not just folks at the 60% AMI, but people in the lowest incomes of our city at the 30% AMI. We've now lost the opportunity to use that property in that way, and so I would commit to not selling off any more city properties to private developers, because privatization of our properties means that we're going to lose them as public, and that is not mine to sell off. That is public property. In terms of figuring out ways to ensure that people can stay here, I want to first recognize that Seattle has done absolutely not enough. The black population of Seattle was 7% in the last census. I would venture to say it's probably 3 or 4% now, and we won't know how much damage has been done really until the next census. This promenade being sold is selling off history. And it's history that's going to be 100% inaccessible if the city doesn't start to leverage its ability to negotiate with developers. Africa Town, folks with Y. King Garrett have done a lot of work to try to work with Vulcan. Unfortunately, it has not actually led to us having a substantive voice in what this property looks like. And so, as mayor, it is incredibly important that not only do I speak out against it, but I leverage the city's ordinances. I leverage the city's relationship with developers to negotiate, not on behalf of community, but with communities that are being pushed out, what sort of spaces our communities want to have. I think one major problem we've seen in this is the communities most impacted by gentrification. Not only do we not get a seat at the table, but we never get a meaningful voice in it unless we go to city council and we shut it down. That does not promote anti-displacement. In fact, it is a continuation of push out all the way into the bureaucracy of our government. And so that has to be transformed. The one thing I want to say is there's been so much damage done already to many arts communities and many cultural communities that rolling back the dial is going to take a serious concerted effort and a willingness to draw hard lines in the sand when it comes to developers, and a willingness to actually use our public lands to invite those folks back into our city. So not only do I want to be anti-displacement, but I want to be welcome home, come back home.
Just a follow-up to that, in that vein, you mentioned things like impact fees. I'm wondering what are some other specific tools that we could use to get more from not just developers, but also corporations that have a lot of outsized influence and power. Or begin to make, because I know some of the stuff is at the state level, what are some of the changes that we can make or begin to make systemic changes that allow us to get more?
Yeah. So a few things. Impact fees is one way. The next thing is we need to be in coalition with other cities. We are not the only city that's being impacted by this. In fact, the push out is moving folks from Seattle into Federal Way and Kent. And so I think the mayors of those cities have a vested interest in working with us to try to transform the process and the accessibility issues. I think transportation is a major one we have to think about. And I'm not interested in first bullying corporations into it, though I'm not above making them do some things. But I deeply believe in conversation. I think our corporations want to be invested in our city, so we can incentivize them investing in our public transit system in order to ensure that at least their workers and ensure our city workers and our university students are using public transit in a way that is useful for them. The university is saying that the cost of providing new passes to their educators is too much now. And so I think we need to partner between the city, transit, and the university, but also these corporations and developers you're talking about to figure out what would actually be an incentive. Maybe it is, there are lots of taxes that we're using in a lot of sort of bully pulpit ways. That's not a bad thing when folks have denied partnership, but I think you have to go to partnership first. We want to develop healthy, good relationships with our corporations, and I actually believe they want to do the same. We have to teach them how to do it.
Thank you so much.
This is intense, y'all.
Close to me.